Hi there, America. I'm Trista, and I'm running for Congress in the 7th Congressional District here in Tucson, Arizona. And I create with my husband ChatGPT. Ha ha ha. You get a 2 for a comedian and a Congress member when you write me in September 15th, Tucson. So tag all your Tucson friends below. Thank you. Anyway, here's my resolution for today. Impeaching Donald J. Trump for high crimes and misdemeanors, specifically for his adjudicated acts of sexual assault and continued violations against women, misuse of public office, and obstruction of justice. Whereas Donald J. Jackass Dump has been found liable for sexual abuse and defamation in the case of E. Jean Carroll, and has continued to defame and endanger the safety of his victim in violation of court orders. Whereas Donald J. Trump has attempted to evade civil judgment of $83.3 million, including through misuse of publicly funded legal resources and by inciting harassment against the plaintiff. Whereas over 30 women have publicly accused Mr. Trump of sexual assault and/or sexual misconduct, some dating back decades and including allegations involving minors as young as age of 10, boys and girls, such as the 2016 Katie Johnson lawsuit and ties to convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Whereas these actions constitute a pattern of behavior unbecoming of any public servant and represent crimes against women and children and humanity, violations of the public trust, and a national disgrace. Exhibited a long-standing pattern of witness intimidation, retaliation against victims, and destruction of evidence, including during his presidency. Resolved that Donald J. Trump is hereby impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors related to sexual violence, abuse of power, contempt of court, obstruction of justice, and gross violations of the rights and dignity of women and children. Resolved further that Congress stands united in defense of survivors and intimidating the and in upholding the rule of law, and calls upon the Department of Justice and the International Criminal Court to pursue further investigations and charges as warranted. Resolved finally that all members of Congress are called upon to co-sponsor this resolution in solidarity with all survivors of sexual violence and in defense of the integrity of American democracy. Here's my press release. TRISTA4CONGRESS calls for Trump's impeachment for crimes against women and children. On behalf of all women survivors of sexual violence and allied organizations, congressional candidate TRISTA4CONGRESS today introduced a congressional resolution calling for the impeachment of Donald J. Trump for crimes against women, including his adjudicated rape and defamation of journalist E. Jean Carroll, his history of over 30 sexual misconduct allegations, and his connections to Jeffrey Epstein. This man is a known sexual predator who has terrorized women from the White House to the witness stand. He has been found liable for sexual assault in a court of law, yet continues to endanger survivors and evade justice, says DeGenova. Where are the women's organizations? Where is the outrage? I invite all of them to join me now. If Congress refuses to act, Tucson voters can write me in this September 15th. I will carry this resolution personally and flood the zone with 100+ impeachment bills for Trump and the 200 GOP traitors and the corrupt Supreme Court justices who protect him. The resolution highlights Trump's criminal conduct and urges Congress to act in defense of all women and children who have suffered in silence. TRISTA4CONGRESS is a longtime advocate for women's rights, MST in women's studies actually, as well as formerly served on the Alameda Commission on the Status of Women as a commissioner, and the UN Human Rights Women UN+5 Beijing Conference. I covered that. I'm a media professional, award-winning multimedia professional and independent candidate for Congress. Here's my speech for the House floor. On behalf of all women, it's called. Mr. Madam Speaker, today I rise not just as a candidate, not just as a citizen, but on behalf of all women in this country and all survivors of sexual violence to introduce a resolution of grave national importance. It is time to impeach Donald J. Trump. Again, not for politics, but for his crimes against women. He's been found to be an adjudicated rapist, accountable by a jury of his own peers for inciting harassment and violence against her and every woman who dares to speak the truth. He was ordered to pay $83 million, and now he's trying to get away with it, using lawyers paid for, pro bono lawyers paid for with your tax dollars. That is abuse of public resources and contempt for the rule of law. But E. Jean Carroll is not the only one. There are over 30 women who have been... I say let the people do it. Send me to Congress September 15th and I will introduce this resolution myself, and I will not stop there. We will flood the zone with 100, count them, ha 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 ha, impeachment resolutions for Mango Mussolini, for the 200 traitors in Congress, and for every corrupt Supreme Court justices who took millions in bribes from billionaires who have been protecting this criminal regime. This is not a game. This is justice. This is our moral reckoning. If you're our retribution, I'm your karma, and this is you. Send me to Congress. Means you're sending yourself to Congress. This is justice, this is our moral reckoning, and this is your call to action. Email your representatives, send them this resolution, demand they endorse it, and if they don't, replace them with me or someone who will. Thank you. And to the survivors, we see you, we believe you, and we are with you always. As your representative to Congress, when you write me in September 15th, TRISTA, I will be flooding the zone with over 100 Congress-ready resolutions that are on my Substack, TRISTA4CONGRESS, and it would be such a pity if y'all went there and copied and pasted and sent it to your representatives. But we need to immediately remove him from office, charge him criminally, 18 U.S.C. subsection 2381, treason, and subsection 2383, insurrection, nullify all executive orders he has issued under the argument of constitutional disqualification per the 14th Amendment, section 3. Here's my resolution for treason and insurrection, submitted to the House of Representatives of the United States, 118th Congress. Copy and paste this on my Substack and send it to your representatives. Whereas Donald J. Trump, in violation of his oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, incited and led an insurrection against the government of the United States on January 6, 2021, and gave aid and comfort to those who attacked the Capitol, whereas he failed to act for over 7 hours while violent domestic terrorists stormed the United States Capitol, endangered the lives of elected officials, including his own vice president and the House Speaker, and obstructed the peaceful transference of power, whereas he encouraged the mob by stating they were very special, pressured the vice president to overturn a legitimate election, and used incendiary rhetoric against his own vice president and Speaker of the House, whereas Trump has been adjudicated as an insurrectionist by multiple state courts, including the Supreme Courts of Colorado and Maine, and remains under investigation or indictment for crimes including conspiracy, espionage, election interference, racketeering, and obstruction of justice, whereas Trump removed classified documents from the White House in violation of the Espionage Act and has failed to return hundreds of such materials, thereby endangering national security, whereas credible evidence, including from prize-winning journalist Bob Woodward, shows that Trump diverted U.S. pandemic medical supplies to the Russian Federation and used presidential power for personal gain and foreign appeasement. He gave it to Putin for his own personal usage while there was a shortage here in America. That's treason, duh. Whereas multiple former U.S. and Russian intelligence officers have publicly stated that Trump has been a Russian asset since his 1987 trip to Moscow. His name is Krasnov. Whereas on taking office in 2025, Trump issued illegitimate executive orders and pardoned unindicted co-conspirators from the January 6th attack, thereby aiding and abetting enemies of America. Whereas he has undermined critical U.S. alliances, including our defense and aid to Ukraine, betrayed Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, and publicly aligned with Vladimir Putin, whom even former Vice President Mike Pence has correctly identified as a murderous dictator. Trump has threatened military or economic action against allies, including Canada, Mexico, Panama, and even Greenland, demonstrating erratic, authoritarian foreign policy in direct opposition to U.S. interests, NATO commitments, and the post-World War II global democratic order. Might I point out that everything he does is only in the interest of Russia, Russia, Russia. It wasn't a hoax. Resolved that Donald Trump is hereby impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, including treason, insurrection, espionage, and obstruction of justice pursuant to Article 2,